Welcome back to Paranormal Stories and Spooky Shiz. I'm your host, Chappy, and in today's episode, we will be talking to Canadian paranormal investigators Matt, Jessica, and Darren. And they're going to tell us about visiting the Arlington Hotel in Paris, Canada, along with many other of their adventures in paranormal investigating. All right. With that being said, welcome to another Paranormal Interviews episode. Here we go. All right. We have our friends Matt and Jessica back with us today. And then today we have our guest Darren, that paranormal
Hello.
investigates as well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell me about, whether it's this latest one that you guys are really hyped about.
Yeah, so I want to jump right into what happened at the Arlington. I want to jump right into that one if that's okay with everyone.
I don't know if Darren maybe wants to give a little background on the Arlington, because this was all like his baby. We just kind of tagged along. So
That's not entirely true. You guys made it possible, but
I know, but you did all the legwork.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and just give a kind of background on where we were that night.
So the Arlington is a hotel that was built in the 1850s in Paris, Paris, Ontario, not Paris, France. Paris named after plaster of Paris that they got from the gypsum mines. But this hotel has been around since like the 1850s, and it's changed hands a lot over the years. No one owner will keep it for more than 10, 15 years. So really weird off the bat. I stayed there back in December because I heard through the interwebs that the place could be haunted. It's got a pretty brutal history. A lot of it hasn't made media, such as it was a strip club and a biker bar / music bar. But also quite a few deaths have happened with suicides in some of the rooms and natural causes and things like that. And plus Paris itself has been flooded again because it's right on the Grand River in Ontario, where the Grand River meets the Nith. And then Paris again itself, huge fire burned the whole town down in the early 1900s. Lots of fires, lots of devastation. So right off the bat, it's just one of those places that's a vibe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
When I was back there in December, I stayed in a room called the Edgar Allan Poe Suite, where a gentleman had apparently hung himself. And when I was there, Mackenzie, who works the front desk, took me down to the basement, and she's like, the real activity, I think, is down here. I thought so too, although we did get some activity down there. Some stranger things ended up happening that night.
Yeah, 100%.
So we were able to book off the whole fourth floor, part of the third floor, and the basement. So a lot of areas to investigate in this place. Throughout the night, we went into the Edgar Allan Poe Suite, and we started using a Ouija board, and we didn't think we were getting anything, to be honest, until we all kind of left and people came. I went down there with the new people that came, and as soon as we walked in, our EMF meters, our K2 lanterns, everything were just wigging out. All the lights were lighting up. We're like, okay, well, nothing was happening 2 seconds ago. Change the people in the room, and everything's just flying off the hook. Now, that's not even the weirdest part about it. About 2 minutes later, I think was it you, Jessica, that came down to the room? Sorry?
It was me,
Yeah. You came in the door like, are you guys using a spirit box down here? Like, what's going on? Somebody's spirit box is really loud. And I'm like, no. Like, well, we can hear a spirit box going in one of the girls' rooms. One of the two of the people that came and rented a room that were part of our party. And we're like, no, I'm not. She's like, well, come check this out. So I book out the room. I run upstairs to the fourth floor through the stairwell, and we get up there. And how many people were out front of the door? Matt was there. A couple other girls from our group.
When you came upstairs with Jessica, so total upstairs, there was 5 of us.
Yeah, me. So originally it was me, Matt, Heather, and Bree, and we were just investigating the fourth floor. Matt had the elevator door open, and nobody came out, so that was, freaked him out. Just the fourth floor was really eerie to begin with.
Oh, 100%.
And us four were going to leave. We were actually going to go to the Edgar Allan Poe room. And as we were leaving, we could hear, it almost sounded as if somebody left their TV on. But there was nobody in any of the rooms because they were all out investigating. So we were, trying to follow the noise, and we came to room 404, which was right beside our room. And we were listening, and it literally sounded as though somebody had recorded our spirit box session and was playing it back through the room. But you couldn't actually make out what was being said. It sounded like a spirit box session was going on. Yeah. So we were like, maybe it's traveling from the Edgar Allan Poe room up, because it was basically directly underneath of this room.
Yeah, through the vents or something.
Yeah, through the vents.
That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought, because this is the crazy part, though. We could hear voices coming through the door. Not all of them you could distinguish, like Jess said, what they were saying. But, when we were standing there before Darren came up, it was Darren's voice that was coming out of the room. That's why we were convinced that it was just like a recording or something, that we were just hearing them through the vents.
Yeah.
Because Darren has a pretty distinctive voice that we're pretty familiar with.
Yeah.
So that's why we sent Jessica downstairs to get Darren. I was 1,000% sure that he was going to come upstairs and say, yeah, we're using the spirit box downstairs in the Edgar Allan Poe room. And then I was going to be like, well, that's debunked.
Yeah.
Right.
But he literally comes up and says, no, we're not using a spirit box. And then we're standing there now, and it's the five of us. And me and Darren basically have our ears to the door. I'm looking at his face, and his voice is coming out of the room that's locked and empty.
Yeah. I was totally like, what the fuck? It sounded like can I say that on this?
Yeah. You're fine.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I was basically like what the fuck? I'm listening, my ear to the door. I'm knocking on the door, asking if the girl's in there. There's nothing coming back. It sounds like, somebody had recorded something with a cell phone, and then, that tinny kind of audio you get out of the cell phone speaker. Yeah. It sounded like that. And I'm like, they must have left their TV on. There's, radio, whatever. I have no fucking clue, but I could hear clear as day, there's something going on behind this door, and there's five of us listening. We're checking our phones. I think at one point I even put my EMF meter up to my ear just to make sure it wasn't making a noise, right? And,
we definitely did.
Yeah, then the next thing, is just when you hear your own voice, and Jessica's voice too. It was my voice and her voice were both coming from behind this door out of I don't know what was behind it, but it was the most bizarre shit. I'm still getting goosebumps, the hair standing up just talking about it right now, because I have no explanation for it. And we're knocking on this door, but somebody's in there, open up the door. This isn't, why are you doing this? This isn't and how. So Matt looked at me, he's like, that is your voice. And I'm like, I know. And they're like, that is your voice to Jessica. She's like, I know. And we're just we're expressionless, mouths are open, what the hell is this? What is going on?
It wasn't a short period of time either. It was it went on for time. Even before we got Darren, it was going on for at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I went downstairs to the third floor, got Darren, came back up, and it stopped when we got to the top of the stairs, me and Darren, and then it started again. And it went on for a good 5 minutes again.
Yeah.
And then silence.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
Yeah.
But then we ended up finding the girls whose room it was, and they came upstairs and opened it. And it was
We were
Go ahead,
lucky
Darren.
because like we were like, we're gonna go find them, and they're just on their way to head down to the basement, and we're like, get up here, open your room, we don't believe you, you must have left something on. They're like, no.
Exactly.
They make their way up, you know, and they fucking they come, they scan the door opens, and guess what, the room is dark except for like one light on, nothing's on. And we all just kind of pile in, like, what the fuck? Do you guys not leave a TV on? Like, what the hell's going on here? But then we step in the room, and it's
freezing.
Yeah.
Like
it's cold as hell.
Freezing. Like way colder than outside. It was colder than the basement, which is all limestone. Like, it was cold in there.
Yeah. I love how you guys are investigating paranormal, you know, but the whole time you're trying to debunk it, you know. So it's when you can't debunk it that you're like, this is legit, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of our jobs as, you know, paranormal investigators, is to try and debunk the evidence that you do gather, right?
Yeah.
And like this, honestly, all 5 of us are completely speechless. Like, we're
baffled.
We have zero explanation. And like, to the point where like it sucks at the same time, but like, nobody was recording anything, nobody was using any paranormal equipment, but I think it's just we were all just in shock.
The last thing on my mind was like, because we were just about to head that, like, the whole group had already left. We were about to join them all downstairs. All of our stuff was packed up and we were ready to go downstairs, and then it just kind of went off. And like, I was, for the next like while, I was just completely mind blown. The last thing on my mind was, you know, I should probably, like, I wish I would have thought about something, but I just couldn't believe what was happening. And I was so focused on like finding an explanation.
And there is none.
It was, I have no idea.
We have no answers. And when we went in that room, nothing was on. There was one light. It was creepy enough as it is, but then we're standing there, we're like, holy fuck, it is freezing. You look at I look at the thermos for the furnace on the wall, and it said 22 degrees Celsius. I mean, like, 22 degrees Celsius is not cold. It must have been, I don't know, like 5-6 degrees Celsius in the room, like just barely above that freezing point. Right?
It
like,
was cold.
It's crazy. Anytime.
Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
Anytime I hear about like a mimic or anything like that, where it's copying somebody's voice and everything, it, like, I always get chills. Like, it's not good.
Yo, try being me and Darren. Like, when I heard my voice, and like when Darren heard his voice, we looked at each other and we're like, what is happening? Like, we were freaked, like, in utter complete shock. Like,
it was crazy.
Still, like
to be able to, like, I know, like, it would have been trippy to hear your own voice, but like hearing you guys talk, watching your mouth not moving.
Like it's just you literally don't have words for it, because you're like, what the hell is happening right now? You're trying to grasp a hold of the situation, and you can't, because your mind can't comprehend what is actually going on, other than the fact that you're in a haunted hotel and you hear a conversation with your voice going on behind a door.
So it's actually a pretty common phenomenon that people report of, like, and it usually happens in their homes and stuff like that. But even at Waverly
I've invested
Hills,
cases with that.
Lots of, like, at Waverly Hills, that's here in Kentucky with me. They talk about mimics and doppelgangers, you know, in that haunted location as well. So it doesn't surprise me that you guys ran into that in a haunted location.
It's the first time I've ever experienced it. I think it's the same with Matt. I'm not sure about Darren, but it was something I will absolutely never forget, because I still have zero explanation for it. It's like when the girls came upstairs that rented that room out, they were terrified. Like, they had no idea what had just transpired in their room. And they were so scared. Like they were like, well, we don't want to sleep in here tonight. And
Right.
like, I mean, they were there for the investigation as well, too. And like after I think Darren might have heard this story too, but I was talking to the lady at the front desk. And she's been there for, I don't remember. It wasn't Kenzie, it was the other lady. She has been there for a long time. And
the one that found the body.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
So she was telling us a story about 404, which is like where this happened. And
it was in 401.
I thought she said it was 404 where the phone was ringing.
The 404 is where the phone rings, but 401 is where the gentleman died.
Yeah. No, I was talking about the phone ringing, how it rang. She said it rang to the front desk. I think she said it rang 4 times. Yeah. And every time they went to pick up the phone, there was nobody there. So she's like, it doesn't surprise me that something happened in 404 because, this has happened in the past.
Yeah.
So like hearing that and then like experiencing what we had experienced the night prior, it just kind of, solidifies that I believe it was paranormal, like
well, it's definitely one of the most paranormal things I've ever encountered. I've never really encountered a case of a mimic, especially like that. Like I've investigated a house before where it's like there's a mimic in there that was, antagonizing the mother and one of the daughters, right? Mm-hmm. Almost to the point where it had become a shadow person, and we actually tried to track it down till about 2 or 3 in the morning, and it ran right in front of the mother, and she like just jumped up in tears. She was like, "I hope you got that." Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I've definitely never experienced anything like that.
No. It's crazy to me that it's one thing to come, to cross paths with a mimic or, and you hear somebody say hello and it sounds like you, or you think it's your mom calling your name or, but this was a conversation. This was like a full blown, at least like with the split 10 minutes, 5 before, 5 after, it was not a short period of time when this was happening.
Multiple voices.
Multiple voices.
Darren and Jessica's voices were just the voices we were able to pinpoint.
Yeah.
I do think that's unique that it was having a muffled conversation,
Yeah.
Like how it was going on for a length of time, because whenever I would have I have an experience with a mimic, but it was like my mom's voice when she's not there saying, Andrew, come here. And I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't say anything else, So the fact that it prolonged itself is pretty amazing.
And the spirit box thing, the spirit box is a pretty distinctive noise, right?
Yeah.
And I could hear a spirit box coming out of the room. We all heard it.
Yeah.
I don't that's crazy that there was nothing in there. No one was even using a spirit box at the time.
And nobody antagonized it or challenged it or anything?
No, we were pretty respectful.
To cause that?
Well, no, I was just wondering if, because it was probably about 10, 15 minutes before that with the Ouija board, and that's basically the room that was right underneath it.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if while we're playing around with that, if we had woke something up
off or something.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, because none of us that were there were disrespectful in any way, because a lot of the deaths and stuff like that had happened in there were not anything like malicious or stuff like that. There was a suicide and but we weren't
provoking at all.
Yeah, we weren't provoking. We
basically
were
just asking questions.
Yeah, just show us that you're here type of thing.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's pretty cool though. That's definitely one for the books.
Absolutely.
Would you call that your top 10 experiences?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. This is definitely up there.
Yeah.
This is I'm even comfortable putting this on my my number one personally.
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
I've never. We've been through we went through the checklist of trying to figure out. Okay, well, it's got to be this.
Yeah.
It's always a no. Wasn't no.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the fact that there was more than one person that experienced it with us,
Yeah.
like there was 5 of us in total.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
4 of us prior to us getting Darren. So, I mean, all 4 of us heard the exact same thing. Like I even at one point before I got Darren, I think I even went into our room because it was right beside, and I made sure there was nothing on in our room.
Yeah.
And like, because it just doesn't,
Yeah.
it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, we were checking all the doors in the corresponding rooms all around there. Like, I'm like, did they leave something on? Did they leave something on? Like pressing up to every door. I'm like, okay, nothing's on. I still don't understand what's happening. What the fuck's happening?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. It was crazy.
So this location like let you guys, or you guys rented it, or like they let you do like a whole floor, of an investigation or so?
It took a lot of planning and like pushing numbers around to talk to the hotel and their event coordinator to be able to fill up enough rooms on the 4th floor, and then they get some for the 2nd floor. Then there was like additional cost for having access to the basement. We had access to this basement till 5 a.m. I think we were down there till probably about 3:30, and some crazy things happened down there too, right? Like we took an SLS camera down. And the whole basement built in 1850s, completely encrusted and built in limestone. So the EMF meters down there are rendered useless. So it really challenges you to come up with, other means of detecting stuff. But you don't really have to detect stuff when you're leaving the room and all of a sudden you hear it shuffling coming up behind you. And I told that to Matt, and Matt went back down by himself, the crazy bastard. and he can confirm that there's shuffling like that. I heard shuffling when I was leaving. He went down, and he heard the shuffling continued when he went down there.
Yeah, and no, it wasn't just shuffling. Like it was like you could tell it was coming closer to you. Yeah. Like I was sitting at the very front, like where Heather was sitting for her little experiment there. That's where I was sitting, and you could tell it was coming from the back corner and like around the front of the bar. You know what I mean? And coming towards you.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where I heard it too. When I was walking out, I was like, I'd start to run past everybody. I'm like, oh my God. Like it was one of those moments where it gets you and it starts to choke you up, right? Like that, those are the moments where it's like, okay, now I'm a little scared.
Yeah.
When it starts to give you the choking feeling, right?
Right. Yeah. That anxiety starts building in.
100%.
This came out of the blue.
So when he went back down there to sit by himself.
Yeah. As soon as I walked in after them in the basement, when I went in by myself, I could like basically feel his anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
It was just like electric when he walked in there.
I know. It was funny because like Darren asked me, he's like, where's Matt? And I'm like, he went to the basement. He's like, by himself? And I was like, yeah, he's a crazy bastard.
Yeah, I would have a buddy the whole time.
Yeah, that's me. I have to have a buddy. Like,
Like, I'll be brave as long as you're here. If I'm by myself,
yeah, exactly. I know.
I'll start seeing things.
Yeah, and I think it kind of got to that point too, where it's like, where they call them like the peekaboos. We think like they're starting to come out, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, but again, it's also like 3:30 in the morning, and we've been up for, at least I've been up for almost 24 hours at that point. So it's like, what's going on? But I mean, other people had happenings too, like outside of that room with the girls that were staying in it. They're using a spirit box, and it said, it's okay that I'm dead or something like that. And then it said, like, listen to this. And they're like, what? And they're at the elevator, hit the elevator. And all of a sudden they said they heard this knocking down at the end of the hallway that kept getting closer and louder to them. And they were able to get in the elevator right as it approached them.
Yeah, they were panicking. And that happened right after, like, the 5 of us, after the whole experience of like hearing our voices through the door. We're like, okay, we need to take a break. We need to step outside. And the 2 girls that were in that room stayed up there. And they basically said, like, thank you for letting us know that you're here, type of thing. And then, it came through the spirit box. Listen to this. And they heard knocking, chasing them down the hallway.
Knock, all the way down the wall.
Yeah. So they panicked and ran outside and came and found us, and they were like, "Oh my god!" Because yeah, like I mean, there was a lot of things that happened that you can't explain. Like even when we were in the back wine cellar, which is also in the basement, and we had our music box out, and Darren brought back the SLS, and we've mapped out 2 figures, and Darren asked the figure to wave and caught it waving back.
Yeah.
And like it set off the music box, and like we asked it to, it set off the music box. So like it wasn't just that crazy shit that happened on the 4th floor. Like stuff happened all over.
Yeah.
The basement was, like, aside from the 4th floor, the basement was my favorite spot. Like that whole night I had all my hair was standing up on the back of my neck, constant like goosebumps all over the place.
Yeah.
And like I've never had that at a location. Like sometimes I'll get it at a location if like crazy stuff happens, you know what I mean? Then the hair on the back of my neck will stand up, but it was like a constant. Like constant tingles. Like I was like shrugging my shoulders like the whole night, because it was just like it felt like somebody was like right behind me the whole time, like breathing on the back of my neck, that feeling. And it was just like I couldn't shake it in the basement.
I kind of thought about a thing afterwards. Another one of our guests that came, she had like the burps or the hiccups, and like was almost to the point of regurgitating all night, and she didn't understand why she was feeling so sick. And it wasn't until the next day that when we were checking out, the lady at the front desk told us about the gentleman that had died in 401.
Right.
When he was at the hotel, he was at a reunion party, some sort of corporate reunion party that they're having in the basement, and they said that he was like so wasted, and that the manager had to carry him up to his room, and then when he didn't check out the next day, they checked in on him, and he had died in his sleep, probably from like alcohol poisoning and all that stuff. And I'm just wondering if like that was kind of him in his final moments, coming through this girl who's a bit of a sensitive that was in our group. Like that was another thing I was thinking about afterwards.
Was this Margaret you're talking about? Margaret? I have a video of me, because I was recording Heather doing the Gansfeld, and Margaret was sitting across from Heather, and I have a video of me, and I'm just recording, and then I noticed that Margaret is like almost choking. So in the video, you see me like lean in towards her and go, "Are you okay?" And she's like looked up at me, and it was just like the look on her face was like, she's like, she's having a bad time.
I'm wondering if she was affected by that, and when that happened.
Because I've heard of that being a thing, like sensitives and people like picking up on that and it making them physically ill.
It's true, it happens. Even like weird, like we did like, because Paris in general is very haunted. Like there's a lot of the buildings that did outstand the fire in the 1900s, they're all still there, the ones that could stand. So we actually did like a ghost walk prior to us doing the investigation at the Arlington. And I remember like we went on the bridge, and Darren didn't tell us anything about this bridge. We had no idea. And he asked everybody, like, how do you feel standing on this bridge? And I said, I felt sad. Like as soon as I got on that bridge, I felt like I wanted to cry. And I didn't know why. And then Darren ended up telling us that there was a guy who killed himself on that bridge. And so like that type of stuff is crazy. Like how you get those feelings, not knowing what to expect. Like we could have gone on that bridge and it could have been a happy thing, but like
someone could have fell in love on the bridge.
And like I felt so sad. And like I remember even Matt, like he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm just really sad." And then Darren told us like, somebody died on this bridge. And I was like,
so some people actually walked on the bridge and started getting headaches, and a couple of people felt like they got pushed when they went on the bridge. And one of the crazier spots too on the tour was back in the woods, where apparently a gentleman had killed his wife in a drunken rage. And the woods around us, because it's up in this wooded trail that we got to walk to get around. and it's very secluded, and it was getting dark and everything like that. And I don't know, it's just you got a weird feeling up in there, and we were trying to use spirit box sessions, and other things were coming out. There's like, I did a bad thing and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a little weird.
Yeah, that was a cool part to the ghost story. Even the restaurant that we had dinner before the investigation had chef comes out and tells us stories about all the crazy stuff that happens at the restaurant and stuff. Like,
we lucked out with that one. I was able to pick out a restaurant, and I'm like, well, this is what we're doing. And the guy's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah, why? Have you guys experienced anything? He's like, well, actually we have. And the general manager came out and told us some stories. The chef came out and told us some stories. One of the stories that happened to one of the waitresses that have been there for so long, like she was there, she was working that night, but she didn't want to tell it because it had affected her so bad. One night when she was working, she heard this smash come from the kitchen, and there are little like serving ice cream dishes that were just on the counter, just shattered in one place. And it was when this restaurant was, they didn't move. They were there, and they just shattered. But this restaurant got a lot of activity because it was built over top of a river causeway, for one, and two, when they started doing all the renovations, it sparked up all this activity. Like the chef was talking about how these big iron, I think it was the freezer doors, were like slamming and stuff like that, right? Like, so just whatever's there has enough energy to break things and open and slam heavy doors. So that was a cool little highlight. And the food was delicious as well.
The food was pretty good for sure. Yeah.
That guy was what? He was a top chef in Canada, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was
top chef, something like that.
He went on the show on the Food Network, Top Chef Canada, and I think he won. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that was cool. We ate from a really famous chef
in a haunted restaurant.
At a haunted restaurant.
Yeah. So all in all, it was a pretty wild night. It was draining in the end. Like, I woke up the next day, I couldn't even look at people because I couldn't keep my eyes open. I was just like, one of those.
Yeah.
But a lot of crazy experiences. More activity than I expected to happen, for sure. And the activity that did happen just takes everything to a whole new level for what I've experienced, and I'm sure what these guys have experienced too.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, for sure.
No, not at all. Like, I was expecting, having a few answers in a spirit box, or, doing the Gansfeld, or, having a REM pod go off, or
like the usual investigation stuff. You know what I mean? Like the usual stuff.
But
even when Heather was doing the Estes method, it was like, it kept saying, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, like over and over again through the spirit box, like repeated words just over and over again.
Yeah, which is rare. I mean, you don't get repeated words when you're, from
the same voice.
From the same voice, that, you're listening to through the spirit box. So there's definitely like some strong spirits in that place. And I mean, I guess they just wanted to be heard because they didn't stop.
Once we gave them a platform, it was just like constant communication and activity all night. Once we were able to like open up that bridge to them, like it didn't stop, because I don't think too many people have investigated it until like recently, because it became a bit more well known recently. So and every time you do, I think you just kind of wake the activity up even more and more. So they really got woken up last weekend.
Yeah, they sure did.
I think intention plays a good part in it too. Like, you set that intention and the things that are there, and like they notice, so they might have reacted to you guys, they could tell that you wanted interaction,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
It's so sorry. You want to go?
No, go ahead, Darren. It's good.
Okay. Sorry, I'm on a rampage now.
That's okay.
With the SLS, when we first booted up the SLS in the bar in the basement, and like we're scanning the bar, you see like it maps out a figure that's literally like hanging off the bar, looking like he was drinking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was
and
crazy.
then And then there's the two more that got mapped out in the back room. It looked like the one was beating the other one up.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
You know, it's like an old bar fight back in the 1800s.
Yeah, exactly. And like it was just, it was just everything. Any room or place that we went to, something happened. And everybody experienced something at some point. So I think that just also validates as well that not one person had one experience. Like
Yeah.
numerous people experienced numerous different things, right? And
Yeah.
like Darren said, like as soon as we opened that line of communication, like it was like nonstop. Like it was crazy. Oh, another crazy thing. So we're sitting up on the fourth floor. Darren wasn't with us at this point. And one of the girls was using app on her phone that she paid for, and it's called like Spirit Talker.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and I think there was just the four of us, right?
There was four of us.
Yeah. And we're sitting in the fourth floor. Darren had turned the lights out on the fourth floor, so it was just the red exit signs, right? And it was like super creepy. But anyways, we're sitting on the floor and we're asking questions, and we say, "Who's here? Like, who's here with us?" And her phone said the devil. And we had our actual spirit box going, like the right? We had ours going, and Matt just kind of was like, "I know that you're not the devil. Like, tell me who you really are." And we have this recording. We can send it to you. But it comes through our spirit box and it says Lucifer. Yeah. Like you clear as day can hear it say Lucifer. And like, a minute after, her phone said the devil. So two different devices. Not saying the devil was there. I didn't 100%. Feel any evil intentions or anything. But that kind of communication, like, I don't know, it's crazy. And then like we're sitting there too at the same time, and all of a sudden randomly comes through her phone and it says purple hair.
Oh my God, that was another one.
And I have purple hair.
Both two girls in the room had purple hair.
Yeah.
You guys were just talking about experiences with the apps and everything like that. So that's really cool. I've heard a lot of people using those in like different investigations and stuff. And while they don't put very much like stock in the apps because it's an app, sometimes there's coincidences that they're like, okay, that was weird. That was tangible. I think that was real.
Well, and that's where like the weird part came in when the app came through and said purple hair, because there was literally 3 girls there the whole night that had purple hair.
And 2 of them were sitting
of them were sitting there when it came through and said purple hair.
That's like not a normal combination,
No,
like maybe red hair or something, like
brown hair,
blonde hair or something,
Yeah,
but purple.
I was trying to use one of those apps one time because I was bored at the airport, and it said, "Please stay," and then it said, "I'm so cold," and I was like, "I'm not playing this game."
Yeah, you get some really weird stuff that comes out of there, and some stuff that just makes you like take a second guess about everything.
Yeah.
But apps are great because they kind of they get the ball rolling in a sense, I find.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like almost like first resort and the last resort sort of scenario, right? Like they're just a good tool to have, and they keep improving all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, they definitely do. Like I bought an app. I think it was like the first investigation that we were with you, Darren, back at the hotel, and I bought the Necrophonics. And we use Necrophonics all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's pretty accurate. Like you get things coming through, and like you can pick up words and like
answer your question.
Question. Yeah.
Random words that are plugged in.
Yeah.
I remember when it was Humber Lakeshore, it used to be an insane asylum, and it's when COVID hit, and I was standing out front of the scientific building where they used to do like the lobotomies and the shock therapy and stuff like that. And I got the words that were coming out of it were like pain, torture, things like that. So I was like, okay. And then I had a microphone on me that was also plugged into my ears. And I turned around, and as soon as I turned around, I heard a noise come from behind me, which sounded like medical canvas scrubs rubbing together. So I shot back around, and there was nothing there.
Oh my
Yeah.
So that was a instant where the words came through to the location for what I was looking for, and then followed up by like, a disembodied rustling of like medical scrubs.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't debunk apps altogether, because I mean, there's certain times where I've had it running going to work, and I get behind like a school bus, and then I get the word coming through, like I'm driving through Bullitt County, which is supposed to be like really haunted, and like all of a sudden I hear mathematics, and I'm like, well, that's a random word.
Right?
I'm behind a school bus,
Yeah, exactly. And those are the things that you can't really, push aside and say, oh yeah, it was just a random word, because that doesn't make sense, like I don't know. I like
purple hair, like the color.
Purple hair. That would have been a confirmation for me.
Yeah.
Especially when there's more than one person up there that has purple hair, right?
Yeah.
The app also said my name twice. I think it said it once in the basement, and I wasn't even there. Like, well, I was, but I was not in the same part. And Matt had come over and said, it just said your name. And I was like, what? And because I was doing my own thing, like off to the side with the music box, because for some reason, I was just drawn to the music box. So kids.
You're good.
So I went and I sat in one of the tables by myself, and they were doing what do you call it, Darren? Etsy?
The
Experiment?
Estes method?
Oh, Estes. Okay. Estes, I call it Gansfield. I think they're both the same thing.
Tomato.
Yeah. But they were all doing that, and I was sitting in like a little booth by myself, and the music box went off for me while I was by myself 5 times. Like, I asked it to go off.
Like, is that thing going off again?
Yeah. But it was weird, because as soon as anybody came over to me, it stopped, and it would not go off anymore. So like, I was over there doing my own thing and getting responses from the music box, but then my name came through, which is just weird because I wasn't even like present over there. And then it came through again. I think it was on the 4th floor, but instead of saying Jessica, it said Jess. So I don't know. That's weird too, because of the millions of names out, in the universe, for it to come through twice in one night is, I don't know. I find it weird.
You remember it said my name too, which is
it did, right.
But when it said my name, I recognized the voice, and it was my mom, because my mom's passed on. And it's not the first time that her voice and my name has come through the box. So, like, I know she's out there looking out for me, and she's just trying to talk to me in some way or another, but multiple times, multiple witnesses always hear my name and her voice come out of the box. So that's interesting.
Was this just at this place that you guys were at, or has this happened at multiple locations where you hear your mom?
It's happened at multiple locations. I wasn't expecting to hear it, because I haven't heard it in a long time. So it was definitely cool to actually hear it again, because it was also Mother's Day as well. So it's
oh wow. Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
sure. That's got to be cool to have that kind of confirmation, of like, no, that's my mom's voice. I've heard that before.
Yes and no. I mean, I seen a medium, and she was like, yeah, your mom's your guardian right now. She only lets the highest entities of light come through talking to you. I'm like, well, what if I want to get down and dirty with some bad entities that are like, I'm out investigating, and I can't, because my mom's, she's trying to watch out for my ass, right? So
That's hilarious.
I love you, Mom, but I gotta have some fun and adventure here and there too.
He's like, no, you're safe.
Exactly.
You can go interact. Oh,
Yeah.
stop.
Pretty
Force field.
much.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
But the Arlington, Paris, Ontario, anybody that can get there and check it out, stay the night. All the rooms are cool, but like just the energy in the building all around, And again, like when you can't even use your EMF meters in the basement because the limestone is just radiating with so much energy that
You can feel it. You can feel it as soon as you walk into the basement.
Yeah.
You can just feel like that electric energy all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Even like walking in the front doors, like the hotel has been standing for years.
Long time.
Yeah,
And
built in the 1850s, right?
Yeah,
it had. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, just imagine the amount of people that have come and gone in that place, because it was always, a bar or a hotel or a strip club. Like, it was always something where people would like visit, So like the amount of energy that had come and gone in that building in itself is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, but I remember when I was pulling up clippings, it was like you read people's obituaries and it's like their viewing or celebration of life, their wakes that were hosted at the Arlington. So, they used to have like, casket viewings and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can feel the different energy. It's like everywhere you go in the building, it's like a different kind of energy almost. And even like the building as a whole is like a completely different energy than I've ever like felt in any of the other places we've been to. It was just, and it was like I want to say like the strongest too, especially once you hit that basement. It's like an electric fence.
Yeah.
And you just walk right through it. And it's like it's so strong down there.
No,
like,
I get.
At times, go ahead.
I get what you're talking about, that electricity, because I've gone into a place before, like to have a reading with like a sensitive or a medium or whatever. And I knew it was going to be a legit reading because when I walked in the door, it was like electricity.
Yeah.
Like the air was electricity. I was like, it's going to be fun.
The one place where I've experienced that, where it was super intense, and I just like every time I try to sit down, like just like get my footing, it would just be like a huge wave would just hit me. Is the Beck House up in Penetanguishene.
I want to go there so bad.
Yeah, it's this haunted Airbnb that we got in Ontario, where it's this you pull in the driveway, it's just this giant mansion that was built in the 1800s, just towers over you. The place is huge.
Yeah.
And they have the top floor is 2 Airbnb apartments, and it's the activity there is like growing to grow. We should organize a road trip up there.
Absolutely.
Because I think there's 3 or 4 bedrooms plus like a couch we could all sleep on, so we could get like the whole top floor there and just like spend the night.
Yeah, I'd be so down.
Yeah, it's just like the one apartment. Like I went there by myself like an idiot one night, and I spent the night by myself, and I was so freaked out. Like I tried sleeping. They got these little tiny like love seat couches. My legs were hanging off the end, and I just left the TV on at like 3 a.m. I'm just like whatever, because like every time I would stop and chill, like those waves that you're talking about, like you hit the electric fence, or like just like a whole fucking wave of like the electromagnetic energy just comes over you, and you're like, oh geez, like you could feel it, like your hair just starts standing up out of nowhere, and you're like, holy shit. Like you can't even chill. And then again, I had a medium on the phone. They're like, there's a little boy there. He's confused and he doesn't know why you're there. And that's him, poking and prodding you, trying to figure out what's going on or what you're doing. He's like, just tell him to leave you alone.
Yeah.
So I did, and it didn't really help, but yeah.
He's like, this is too much fun.
Yeah.
But,
definitely
it's crazy
for sure.
I think the more we go, like progress as a society, I think they're going to realize that science and spirituality is not that far apart. So like one can explain some of the other kind of things. So I think that's what
Right.
we run into, especially with like this kind of thing, like with the phenomena of like the air was electric. How do you explain
Yeah.
it? You know,
It,
it
exactly.
was.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to someone that's never experienced something like that, but it's it's uh, it's a feeling, and you can't deny that. Like, there's nothing in the room that's all of a sudden, turning on and making you feel these vibes. Like, it doesn't work like that, right? So it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced that feeling. But to the people who have experienced that, the only thing that we can, associate it with is a spirit, or, something paranormal happening, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like I've experienced it in multiple locations, and like Matt doesn't feel things as much as me, but like at the Arlington, he definitely felt it. So like,
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah.
yeah,
That's why
and
he's
like, and then
braver.
what?
That's why he's braver. That's why he goes down to the
Exactly.
basement.
This is why he'll go to the basement alone.
No, see, it's funny because like if I were to pick any time where I felt a little like the energy's overwhelming, it's when I go off by myself. But
Yeah.
that's a part of why I do it. I told Darren, I like testing myself to see
Yeah.
like, what I can handle and what will happen. Because it's like at the Arlington or anytime you do an event like this where anybody who hears about it who wants to buy a ticket can come to it and it's a bigger group, it's hard to get that like I almost want to say that intimate investigation, where
Yeah.
it's like where it would just be like the three of us and we're doing the actual investigation. It's hard with bigger groups like that.
Right.
But at the Arlington, it
Yeah.
was weird, but it was like if you have a bigger group, and you could be in the most haunted places, but with all that different energy,
It's hard
it's
to
hard to
pinpoint.
pinpoint what exactly is happening, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
it could be anything going off. But when you go and you're by yourself and you're sitting there in a room that just, Darren was just chased out of,
Yeah.
it's so much different. And I feel like it like opens it up a little bit more to like, if they want to like play around and see how brave I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it opens it up for stuff to happen. And
Absolutely.
that's when I'm
Definitely.
able to like
I definitely get that
concentrate.
because I've done the group tours and I was
Yeah.
disappointed by them.
Yeah,
So,
see, that's why I don't like them.
anytime they would say, "Can I get a volunteer?" I would raise my hand because I was like, "It's gonna push my limits." Like it's gonna
Yes.
be me by myself somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you do get quite a bit of, majority of the time you get quite a bit of activity when you are with groups too. But I feel like when you lower those numbers and it's more of like a one-on-one, or like, a few people with the spirits, it's a completely different feeling. And I feel like that's why, like, that's also what happened at the Arlington, right? Like, I was by myself, the music box was going off, there was only 3 or 4 people in the Edgar Allan Poe room, and the REM pods and stuff were going off, and and then we're on the 4th floor with 4 people and we hear a spirit box session coming through a door, so like those are the times when there's less people, so there's not all the the crazy energy and the suspense of something happening with an entire group of people, right?
Yeah. Were you with
and when I sorry.
Go ahead.
When I was looking at getting to Arlington and putting this event together, I was like, how can I do it so that it's manageable and I don't have like a huge group that's going to come, right? Because outside of, these guys and investigating, because I've investigated with them now on a few occasions, and it was mostly just a small group of us that had went. I think there was only like, 1, 2, like 4 or 5 people outside of our group that do this that actually came, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it in such a big group, because even in the beginning, like trying to get the investigation off the ground, it was a little tough, because it was like, everybody's sticking together, but you want people to go out and experience things themselves, which eventually it did happen throughout the night, which allowed us to kind of be a little bit more secluded in the places that we were trying to interact with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the Arlington, is it like people were staying there as guests while you guys were doing this, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 That was one of my favorite parts, was how cool the staff was about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The staff was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
They embrace it.
Yeah, for sure.
They
do.
embrace it.
A lot of them do. Yeah.
I love
I've
that.
been to hotels before that, like, I've heard were haunted, and they find out I'm a paranormal investigator. They're like, okay, well, you're not allowed to stay here because we don't want this history coming back up. And I'm like, okay, so I'll go and rent the room under another name, or you get my girlfriend to rent it or whatever,
Yeah.
and then show up. And I just give them the stink eye as I walk through the door with all my equipment.
Exactly. Right.
Like, don't check these bags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a
But
pizza
no,
place that's an old jail where they used to hang people in the middle of the jail. Like, there's a drop down with plexiglass you can look at, and like some of the old jail cells are still there. But now it's a pizza place, and like legit, I found out about it because it's in like our backyard somewhere. And
Damn.
I was like, that's like a town over. I'm going there. And then I would ask like the waitresses and the wait staff and everything, like, it's not really haunted, is it? And they'd be like, yeah, when we're closing up, it's haunted. Like, footsteps upstairs where we're trying to kick out guests that aren't there, dishes rattling when everybody's closed up, nothing is movable, kind of thing. They're like, yeah, the jail cells move. And I was just like, that's so cool. If I was like a server there or something, or worked there, I would be documenting all of that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know it would be so cool to work at a haunted place. Like, and that's just because I guess we're all enthusiasts, right? So like, I mean, I think it would be cool. I don't know if I'd be able to be alone.
Right. If I had to be the one that shuts off the light and then walks through the dark to get out and lock up, I would hate that job.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be my favorite part.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody out, it's closing time, it's just me in the store.
Yeah, no.
My favorite part would be the free pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to share with the ghosts, like, you want extra pepperoni with this?
Yeah, right.
Right.
I know. Even when we were at the Arlington, we were asking ghosts if they wanted some whiskey or if they wanted a beer, right? Because they, it used to be a bar and everything, right? So, just share the wealth a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Trigger, trigger words and trigger items.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, didn't Matt, you tried that at the old jail, the trigger words?
Yeah, I haven't done that since.
No.
Did you ever tell them about the one crazy time at the jail? It was like 4 a.m. after the investigation when
like
we turned
the fire
out the
department
light.
showed up.
No,
this is
that was the next night.
Turned on. Yeah, I sent you that video, right, Andrew? When the lights turn on in the basement.
I don't remember.
I remember I sent it to you.
You sent me a video that you were like, "Where are we?" or something, and it was like basement.
Oh, the basement. That was at Crooks. Yeah, that was at Hollow.
Yeah, that was at Crooks Hollow. But there was a time when me and Darren and Matt, we were
a few other people.
The last one's up, from an investigation at the jail.
Like 4 a.m.
Yeah, it was late.
Super late.
And we were exhausted.
Yeah, we tried to get one last investigation and trying to, get some interaction going in the basement. And like we were tired as hell. And I'd set up a night vision camera just because. And we're all sitting around the basement talking, and I think we started talking about the spirit of the kids that like run around in there.
Yeah.
And as soon as we did, like, there's a light switch in the corner it's on a dimmer switch, like a slider. And I remember sliding it all the way down to the bottom to turn the lights off and down. And we all sat down. As soon as we started talking about the kid spirits that like run around the basement, just like that, the lights came back on.
You did
Something
send me that
literally-
video. I remember
Yeah.
that now.
Yeah, something literally pushed that dimmer switch up and turned the lights back on. So that's up there too with the voices behind the door.
Yeah.
For, like,
I agree.
Yeah, that was up there.
accountable paranormal activity.
And again,
Um,
that was with people as well. Like it was the three of us, and I think Melissa was down
Melissa
there,
was
Nicole.
down
or Nicole.
Nicole
Yeah,
was there. Yeah.
both of them were down there. So again, that's like, having more than one person witness and see this happen. And like the lights didn't just like turn on from a dimmer. It was like they were on. Like it was
Yeah.
And the dimmer
Yeah.
went from down to up.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Some pushed it back up.
Yeah.
Some physically pushed it back up. But it's 4 a.m. and we're so exhausted that we're like,
We didn't even we
Like,
didn't even like
whoa.
really register what happened.
And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
I realized, and I'm like, what in the actual fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
did that
Yeah,
just
yeah,
happen
yeah.
and we not notice? Oh wow.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
even said we were so glad that Darren had his night vision camera because like we were so exhausted and like it was just 4 a.m. we had been investigating for hours, so like that happening was so substantial, but we didn't register it. Like it was just like, oh shit, the lights turned on. It was like,
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine because I'd be exhausted, but at the same time, I'm just a little bit of energy. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
a little bit awake now.
I'm still awake.
Yeah.
I got it.
It's like there's been times before where like I'll set up a REM pod in a haunted room and I'll fall asleep and all of a sudden it starts going off at like 5 a.m. I'm like, fuck now? Why?
Yeah.
I get up and I'll just turn it off and like I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Oh,
you're trying to
God.
talk now. I'm asleep. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had 7 hours to talk to me.
Yeah.
No, but I get that. Like I've heard stories where like a man would be showering and then never fails in the same room that was kind of haunted. Like it would blast him with cold water, but it wasn't just that his plumbing was bad. His knob would be turned all the way to the cold.
Yeah.
And it happened on more than one occasion,
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
the fact that the dimmer switch was moved up, it's like that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I haven't. Every time somebody new finds out that I like investigate the paranormal, that's usually one of the first 3 videos I show them is the lights going on.
Is it?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
One of
show
my
him
favorites.
you sent me a doll video one time.
Oh,
That's from the candy store, yeah.
yeah,
In
where the doll
Niagara.
moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that with my own eyes. Like I wasn't watching the video when I was taking it. I was watching the doll with my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank God I was, because I watched the doll move.
That's like one of my
And-
worst fears.
It was
Well, even before we caught that video, we had the doll set up and we watched it like slump over.
Yeah.
So it was more of a move that like than the actual video because it went from like sitting up and like slumped over. And the way we
Yeah.
had it set up,
It couldn't
it
have.
shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it just like slumped over. And it set off the light bulbs we had in its lap on command when we asked it to.
Yeah.
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 Oh my gosh. I would take a shadow person over that any day.
Nah, man, not me. The fucking shadow peoples and the fucking peekaboos freak me out.
The
I don't know. It's just
peekaboos, I grew up with those, so
yeah. It's
just
just
like,
like
I don't
that's
mess
kind of what.
I don't acknowledge them.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what did it for me at the end of the night in the Arlington. Like I felt like they were starting to come around the corners, just like because like I was getting worn down, and then that's when I was leaving the basement before Matt came down, and I could feel them coming. Heather could feel them coming, and that's when we left. That's when the shuffling across the floor happened, and I'm like, okay, get me out of here.
All that combined, I would have been out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I talk a big game, but late at night, I would be worn down. I would be like, nope.
Well, we
Yeah.
even set up Darren's laser grid. Like he has a laser grid and we set it up in the basement, and I swear I seen something move through that laser grid. Darren seen something move through the laser grid. Matt seen something move through it. Like, and I mean, I know we were tired, but like his laser grid is green, and like, you know, we're in a dark basement. Like, if you see a light flicker, you know, there's really no other explanation for it.
Right.
But like we were, and that was at the end of the night, and we were like, oh my God. Like,
that's when we were sitting there talking to Mackenzie, right? Like, I'm like, did you see that? She's like, yeah, I saw that. Did you see that? It was almost like you know, like those you see videos sometimes, people catch them on their cameras that they set up. It's like the black shadow that goes flying across the ceiling.
Yes.
It was like one of those just shot right for the corner. And then we start hearing like the clicks and the pops start happening. And it's like, okay, well, it's we're going in this direction now. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you keep your cool whenever activity is picking up?
I don't really. Like, I mean, it's like you hear the shuffle across the floor when you're leaving the basement. There's like nobody behind you except this noise coming up, and you're like, okay, you know, there's no cool there. Or you know, you hear the voices from the other side of the door. Like there's no cool. It's just it's bewilderment, right?
Yeah.
It's like
I'd be like, I came for this. Now I'm gonna run away.
Exactly.
And I think that's what it is. I think, you know, a lot of the time when crazy things like that happen, you're so like in that moment, and you're so in shock in that moment that you don't know how to freak out, you know? Like, there's no, like, I mean, if something scratched me across my face, I'm gonna lose my shit. But like, you know, having this, you know, coming through the door, and we're hearing voices, and you know, that was just dumbfoundedness. Like, how is this happening, right? So like, it's the stuff like that where like, I don't think you react in the moment to actually how you're really feeling. Like, you know, it was terrifying to hear my voice come through, and like, I know I wasn't in there. So, you know, same thing, like even when purple hair came through, like that, I was like, whoa, what just happened? And then I thought about it, and I was like, whoa, like what actually just happened, right? So
it's so perplexing.
Exactly. And like, while you're in the moment, while it's happening, you don't have like time, I guess, to be scared, you know? It's just like, holy shit, this is happening. Let's try and figure it out. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
It's such a conundrum, I guess, because like you're trying to register it, and you can't register it because like it's not something that happens every day that's habitual for you, that you're used to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? Like it doesn't register. Like when you look at something that's blue, you're just like, oh, it's blue. It just right away, your mind is just like, okay, great. But like this, you're like, what? Blue?
Yeah, you're like,
blue is a circle?
I have a habit of blue not hurting me. And then whenever you like hear something like you haven't heard before or seen before, you're like, I don't have a history to compare this to. That wasn't feeling dangerous, so I'm afraid. Survival instinct.
Exactly.
For me, I cry on the inside, and I keep it together on the outside.
That's a good plan.
I think it's how I make it. Oh yeah, I'm totally fine to go down to the basement by myself. It's totally fine. And then 10 minutes later, I'm quietly texting Jessica, can you come downstairs?
When you come downstairs, I think I see the devil. Thanks. No rush.
Down here.
Again, that's where like that fight or flight comes in, and like when we're in a spot where you can't fight or flight, like that's when like your eyes start to water, and you get like that choked up feeling in your throat, and you're just like, okay.
You can't even move. Yeah, you just sit there.
And you just
one of those survival mechanisms is freeze, and that's definitely one I choose.
It's true. Like when we were all standing there listening to, you know, the spirit box session come behind a door that nobody was in, we literally were all standing there frozen. All of us.
Nobody could move.
Nobody could move. We were just like, aside from like, yo, is that your cell phone? Yo, is that REM pod? Yo, is that? Like, aside from us doing that, like aside from that, we literally just stood there and we're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So like in that moment, you're in that moment, right?
Yeah.
So once we went outside though, I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
Well, even the next day when we got home, Darren messaged me like, I just want to verify that what happened actually happened. And I'm like, once I verify for myself, I'll let you know.
It's like, that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
yeah.
Because I was still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, the whole drive home was like I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well that just opened up like a new level inside my head that like
Yeah.
I really don't understand anything about anything anymore
Yeah.
because
Like,
I don't
completely
understand
changed it,
how
yeah.
this could happen. Like when you think for sure like somebody left the TV or radio or somebody was playing a cell phone video or whatever the hell it was, and that door opens, the room is dark, you know, that's the first thing. You see nothing's on, but then it really drives it home when you step in it, you realize how cold
How
that
cold
room
it was.
actually was.
Like
it
you,
was
Yeah.
freezing.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Is like, there's no explanation for that. Like, none whatsoever. Still have no idea.
No idea what happened with that one.
Yeah, none. All in all, Arlington was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go back for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Especially like it was active enough that you're like, I can't wait for more.
Honestly, like that was probably one of my favorite events that was put on. Because like I said, I'm like you, Andrew, like with the large group tours and stuff like it, I usually disappointed with all that.
Yeah.
And like this was one of the times where it was like a bigger event where it was like start to finish.
Something was
Something
happening.
like it was probably one of my favorite events.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh my God, yeah. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Did you guys are still going around and like finding places to investigate, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm getting people like they message us on Facebook saying that like their house is haunted and all that stuff. So I'm kind of excited to start doing some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're
Yeah.
always looking for haunted places for sure. And the Arlington just happened to fall into Darren's
happened to
lap
hit.
and he shared the wealth with us.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just now there's just so many more questions, right?
I
It's
have
it's like
1,000 questions, yeah.
you know, it's like Coburg Jail. Every time you went back there, you felt like you just got more answers and more answers, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the Arlington is just it's one of those places where there's so much history, but there's also so much undocumented history that trying to piece everything together becomes part of that challenge that we chase. And then when we start communicating and figuring out why this is happening, or you know, what were the events leading up that would make somebody come back as a spirit or a ghost and want to continue, you know, there outside of being a residual haunting, never mind being an intelligent haunting that's like, listen to this, and starts knocking at the end of the hallway all the way down to where you know people are, or you know, starts to mimic you and mimic multiple people at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Me no likey the mimics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's creepy. It's creepy for sure.
Yeah, never heard it before and it terrified me.
I think Darren said, me and Darren were talking about it, and he said it best. He's like, I wonder what was happening behind that door while we were
On the other
on the
side.
other side.
Can you imagine if there was a camera set up back there?
That's what he said. He's just like, imagine what was going on inside from like that point of view.
Yeah.
Which would have been super interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been so bizarre though if we would have like watched back that footage and nothing was on it.
Right. I was just thinking that like it's just blank, but the voices are there.
Right. Like I would have been like, okay, we're all crazy now. Like, you know?
Or if we had like a digital recorder, even if we hit record on the digital recorder. I think I tried to, but my batteries had died.
Yeah.
And, you know,
yeah,
like if we
did.
recorded and you heard our voices, but you didn't hear the voices that were going on
exactly
behind that door. I gotta run though anyways, guys. So
thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem, dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Anytime, man.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right,
later, dude.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. So tell me about another one of your adventures.
All right, so this next place that we went to, it's a candy slash oddity store in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Yeah. So I had posted in some group on Facebook, like some paranormal group, just asking, does anybody have any ideas of where we could investigate? And the owner of this store ended up reaching out to me himself, saying like, my candy store is haunted. So right away, me and Jess wanted to go down there just to see what it was about.
Well, yeah.
And it wasn't even like, yeah, right, exactly. And it wasn't even like an investigation. We just wanted, it was, hey, it's a open business in Niagara Falls that sells candy. Let's go check it out. And like when we were there to checking it out, it was like some of the most active like recordings we've ever had. Like we brought our equipment, but we weren't like we didn't have the place closed down the first time we went. We just went.
Yeah. And it was the next day.
Yeah, the next day after he messaged me, we went right down there.
Yeah.
And that was the night, right, that we did the giggles video, right? Or
no,
have we been there 3 times?
We've been there 3 times.
Okay, yeah. So we spent like 20 minutes in the store the first time, and it was just the vibe downstairs was like you could feel the energy. It was really like playful and like kind of like it wanted like to sit down and have a conversation. And then the upstairs is like the apartment where the owner and where they all lived. And Amanda, the girl who worked there at the time, took us upstairs, and you could feel the shift in energy. It was the first time that I've personally, because like I'm not sensitive. Like I know we all have the ability, but I'm not good at it. I guess I haven't like practiced enough. But like that was the first time where I've ever felt such a noticeable energy shift. Like it went from playful, like let's chat, to like very like heavy and like dark and like it was almost going from like a princess castle to Dracula's castle. Yeah. You know, like it was very like dark and eerie upstairs. Yeah. So we were like, okay, well we've got to come back. Right. We've got to come back and spend some time here, bring all of our equipment and see what's going on. So we planned it out with the owner, Jamie, and we went back, brought all of our equipment, and it was just the downstairs store was where the doll is that we sent you the video. So we set up this doll, we saw it move, we asked it to turn on the cat balls, and we were having weird stuff come through the spirit box at the time. And then when the camera, like when Jess caught the camera, like his leg moving on camera, it was just a lot of stuff was going on, but it was like a like I want to say peaceful energy. Yeah. You know, like it was very laid back and like, yeah, sure, I'll show you this. Sure, I'll turn your cat balls on, you know. But upstairs was just like totally different. Like you're like looking over your shoulder, your music box is going off at the end of the hallway, and it's weird too. Like the building itself is actually very old. And this is like very close to like where the battlefields took place in Niagara Falls. Like the graveyard where all the soldiers and stuff are buried is literally like a 2-minute drive from like where this store is. Yeah. And like, I mean, we've been there 3 times now, but the first time we were there, they had told us that the person who previously lived there upstairs actually died upstairs. And this was 2 months prior to us coming. So Jamie, who owns the store, he'd only lived there for 2 months. Yeah. And he, like he's a character, right? Like, I mean, he has all of these very, you know, weird artifacts and a coffin in the front window. Yeah, like there's a coffin in the front window that's from Honduras. Yeah. So, you know, who knows what's attached to that. And you know, he's got all sorts of weird dolls, and like 2 of his candy cabinets are from the set of Silent Hill. So it's just it's a crazy vibe, but like the store itself is like a playful energy, you know? And like when he told us that he brought in Giggles, which is the doll that we caught moving. Yeah. And he had told us that
ever since he brought in Giggles, things had like amplified.
Yeah.
So, and I asked him, like, where did you get it? What, like, and he's like, I don't know. He's like, I just found it, thought it was cool. It's a creepy looking doll. You've seen it.
Yeah.
It's not a nice looking clown. And he was like, I thought it would just fit in. And he even said that after Giggles came, he said that there was like candy that had flown off the shelf that he had witnessed. And like,
well, we saw that happen.
Yeah, it happened while we were there.
One of the bags of candy
out of nowhere, just kind of onto the floor.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if there's anything specifically attached to Giggles. I personally think there is.
Yeah.
But there was definitely other spirits in there before this doll came.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. Like, we had him set up, and for some reason, like it's weird, like energies will use certain pieces of equipment more than others.
Mhm.
So like if you find that piece of equipment that they will use and they'll communicate with you, you use that, right?
Yeah.
So he, for whatever reason, Giggles was using the cat ball.
Yeah.
And it's, an LED cat ball, you touch it and it'll light up.
Mhm.
And we had it sitting in between his legs where he was sitting. And like, we were having a full-blown conversation with this doll. Like, there's no other explanation as to why the cat balls are going off, because when I asked him to turn them off, he turned them off.
Yeah.
And if
Like
I
on
asked
command,
him
like right away.
And if I asked him to turn it on, he turned it on.
Speaking
like,
like if you ask Giggles to turn it off
Yeah.
and on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So like I even at one point, like, he wasn't really responding to the cat balls, and I said, would you respond to the cat balls more if your girlfriend was beside you? Because he has this other doll and her name's Penelope, and she's a very creepy doll as well.
Yeah.
She's a porcelain doll that has like a pink princess dress.
Of course.
And ever since he brought Giggles in, he always just said, Penelope is his girlfriend type of thing.
Yeah.
So I asked him, like, will you communicate if Penelope is beside you? And he set the cat ball off right away.
Yeah.
So we moved Penelope over and put Penelope right beside him. And then again, like, we're asking all these questions and he's answering, he's turning them on, turning it on, turning it off. And like, it was bizarre. It was like a 10-minute conversation with the doll and this cat ball. And like,
and it wasn't just one cat ball.
No, it wasn't.
Like, it was doing it both. And the thing is like, even at the Arlington, I didn't see her cat ball go off at all.
Not once.
One single time.
Mhm.
Not once.
And this was like on command. And like, hey, Giggles, turn the cat ball on if you're a male, kind of thing. And he like,
turn it on.
Turn it on if you're a female, and like nothing.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of like yes or no questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like at times even upstairs, like we had the spirit box in the kitchen for the first time we were up there. We asked for a name and it sounded like about 20 people at once just started like screaming out their name.
Yeah, like we heard so many
names. It was like
names.
one after the other over top of each other.
Yeah.
And like usually with the spirit box, that doesn't happen. Like, you say, tell me your name, and
you hear white noise.
You hear white noise or like a word that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
But to say like, tell me your name, and then
it's like
so many people just
Ben.
like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like Ben, Mike, Chris, Julie. It was like one after the other. It was so crazy.
It was crazy. And like the downstairs is really cool too. Like, we had our EMF detector, and for some reason it kept going off in one of the candy displays. But like
Giggles usually sits on top of.
Yeah, so like Giggles usually sits on top of one of the Silent Hill cabinets, and then there's candy inside of it, and then there's like one of those like lights at the top, like one of the touch lights. Because the whole candy store is very like dimmed lighting, and like you use lanterns if you're shopping for candy to look around, so there's not a whole lot of lights, right? It's a very like eerie kind of atmosphere that they're going for.
Yeah.
So he normally sits on top of this cabinet, and our EMF, for whatever reason, was going off like directly in the middle of the cabinet. If we moved it up an inch, it would shut off. If we moved it down an inch, it would shut off. If we put it exactly back where it was supposed to be, it would go off. And like, we even asked Jamie, like, is there a power source running back there? Is there, something that could be triggering the EMF? And he's like, no. He's like, the only thing is that light, and it's like, one of those push lights.
And you could put it directly on the light or like behind it, and it wouldn't
go off.
Just like one little area.
It was one little area, and it continued to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
And like, it was just like, the stuff that you got on like the main floor was crazy. And then like, we're having a conversation with the doll, and I physically watched his leg move with my own eyes.
Yeah.
And then I stopped my video right away and looked back, and I was like, I got it on camera. I was like, because that, investigators investigate for years before you capture something like that. Like, that is,
sometimes they don't even capture anything like that.
No, exactly.
It was like, I've never seen anything like that we've caught before.
Yeah, like I did have to brighten the video because, again, it's very dim in there. So I did brighten the video, and I took the contrast away a little bit. But other than that, I didn't mess with the video at all. Like, I don't even know how I would, make his leg move from left to right. And that's the thing, is like, it wasn't like a gravity thing.
Yeah, it wasn't like a movement you could explain, like, well, it's because his leg was hanging down.
Like, his legs were hanging over the edge, and he literally moved his leg.
And it was almost
right.
like a twitchy movement.
Yeah.
Not like something that would happen like an accidental, like, oh, I'm slipping kind of thing. It was like
because anytime you send me like a piece of evidence, I always start off skeptical. I'm always like, well, let's see if what they think is paranormal is what I think is paranormal. And I think that's just human nature of like, I don't want to be told,
Yeah.
And so I was looking for like little breezes or anything. And then when he did it, I was like, I saw that. Okay.
I remember you saying that. I saw it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
The thing, right, is like, when you catch evidence like that and you can't explain it, like, there was no breeze, there was no doors open, and I mean, if that was the case, then why didn't it move again? Or why did it take it 15 minutes to move the first time? Or, so those are all the things that, like, you think about, but there's no explanation to why his leg moved from left to right. Like, I still can't, for me, like, I watched it happen. Is like, and I think even in the video you can hear me, I'm like, his leg just moved, and I was like, I think I caught that, like, and I don't know, it was just crazy.
And if you weren't watching it like happen with your own eyes, you probably never would have known that happened.
No, exactly.
Because if you were focused on the camera, it's not like you'd be focused on filming.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you were watching it happen with your eyes over the camera is the only reason
why
we were able to catch that at all.
Yeah. Because there's
That's
no
really
way.
Cool.
If we would have looked back at that video, I wouldn't have been able to pick it out, because it is a very slight movement, right?
But if you're looking at the right spot, like, you know where to look.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so obvious that his leg moved.
Yeah. I think it's also like an intention you're bringing in of like, we're open,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like, sometimes I feel like they attach to that and they're like, okay, I'll give you a show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, we do that, whenever we go into any sort of investigation, we announce that, we're here to communicate, let us know if you're here. We're not here to hurt you. Like, we're just here to, see if you exist, type of thing.
And so, like, who knows what it's like for them on the other side,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, are they aware of our surroundings? You know what I mean? Or are they just seeing what they're used to when they were alive,
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's why they said purple hair, because that's a fairly recent trend
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
they would probably be like purple hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like
exactly.
they're probably like just as like weirded out as we get sometimes, you know, like
Yeah.
if they don't know, like if they don't know someone who doesn't know that they have died,
Hmm.
and then we're coming in and like, you know, people who don't look for this kind of thing, you know, just pass them by,
Yeah.
but we're coming in saying, hey, you know,
If you're
anybody, any
here.
spirits in here want to talk, or you know, and then they say, well, are you talking to me? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
can you hear? Can this guy hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's just like I've always wondered that, like, how are they perceiving what we're doing,
Right.
especially when we're going there saying, hey, like if there's any
Talking to this red
talking
light.
to this red light,
And they're
you
like,
know,
well,
like,
I'll try it. Oh, it worked.
It works. Yeah. Yeah. No, the candy store was definitely another place that I love.
oh yeah,
And I mean, you get awesome candy there. Like he
Mhm.
imports all of this stuff from the States that Canada doesn't get.
Yeah.
So like when we go to the candy store, like I mean, Matt gets a lot of it at his store too, but like there's some stuff that I've never seen before. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, yes. So like it's just a good, I don't know, it's a good little candy store.
Yeah. That's really cool though that like you guys found that in like a day. You
Yeah.
know?
oh man, and it was to go like
It was funny. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like when we said like because we were talking to him on like a Thursday or a Friday, and then we didn't have the kids, so we were like, let's just go to Niagara. Like it's only about an hour and a half from us.
Yeah.
So we went and we like showed up to the candy store, and Matt was like, so like, do we just go in? And I was like, yeah, I will. Cause he gets like, you know, his anxiety, right? And I'm
Oh,
like,
I would
no, I'm
too.
like,
I'd be like, I'm here, and they'd be like, great, come in.
yeah,
yeah, no, I was like, let's go. I'll do the talking. I'm like, because he had no idea we were even coming. Like, we just kind of were like, got in the car and, you know, we went. And then, like, we went inside and he kind of came out and I was like, hey, like, are you Jamie? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, we're Matt and Jessica. And he was like, oh, welcome. Right. So, like,
Yeah.
it was really cool because, like, he welcomes it, you know, like, he knows that he has a haunted location and he wants it investigated. So
Yeah.
that's cool too, because to find people like that is not.
it's pretty rare. Well,
Yeah.
even like when we've been there 3 times.
Yeah.
One of the times, 2 of the times it was just us two, and then the third time we brought a lot of members that we investigate with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Jamie actually, like, I think I sent you the picture where he posted a note on his front door that said "closed for paranormal investigation."
That's
So
cool.
he's like, it's always awesome to find people like that who are like, yeah, my place is haunted. Come in, check it out.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
what you've got.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially those like the energy that like at the candy store was it's so different than what we just experienced at the Arlington.
Hmm.
You know, and it's like the more places we go, I'm finding that more because like we're learning as we go, but it's like being able to feel the different energies now
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
like different places, and it's just like that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
You're
Like
gonna
the
end
vibe
up you're gonna end up going to like a friend's house for like a party or a baby shower
yeah,
or something and be like,
and it's wait a
the
minute,
vibes off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like the energy here.
Yeah.
Let me grab my equipment. You
Yeah.
know, like, but
Yeah.
it's just so crazy now to be able to just like go to that place like the candy store and then go to somewhere like the Arlington.
Yeah.
Where it's
Oh
just like
yeah.
the candy store it was a little bit overwhelming at first when we first
Yes.
went, but it was never like a fear overwhelming, you know? It was just like
Yeah.
whatever's in this candy store really, really wants to communicate.
Yes.
And you know, all the spirits there will do more than one thing to try and communicate. So it's like your spirit box going off, then Giggles is over here playing with the balls, and then your REM pod goes off in the back, and then candy flies off the shelf, you know? So it was like
Yeah.
it was very like overwhelming,
It
but
was.
it's like a different overwhelming than like the energy at the Arlington,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because it's like the vibe at the Arlington is like very electric, like we were talking about, and
Yeah.
you can tell that like it's been having people walk in and out of its doors for like a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like some good, like not evil energies, but there's some energies, you know, that was like a little bit more sketchy than your
Yeah. I was
than your,
gonna
you know.
say, when you were up at the apartment level, was there any fear?
It was
So
it to me, it wasn't like I was scared. It was just a little unnerving for me because that was the first time that, like I said, I've ever felt that much of a dramatic energy shift. Where
Yeah.
like, you know, I've been at a location before where you go from the basement to upstairs, and it's like, you know, I didn't really notice any feeling different, like the energy, but like at the candy store, it was like the electric wall. Like you can tell exactly when you're going from one spot to the other, you
And
know?
it's really weird too with the candy store because the apartment, you actually have to walk outside
Mhm.
and then go in a different door to walk upstairs to the apartment. And it was fine the entire time outside, walking up the stairs. And the second you got to that like top stair,
Mhm.
it was like you hit a wall. Like
Yeah.
it's craziest feeling to like feel that change.
Especially such a dramatic.
It was
Like my whole
crazy.
body, as soon as I got to that top step, my whole body is like when you stand up too fast, you know, and you just get that like
Yeah.
I'm too old to be standing up that fast kind of feeling. Like
Yeah.
all like your engine, like all your lights go on, your engine light, like gas,
Yeah.
everything just goes crazy.
Like, did
you
I
know?
just black out? I'm
Yeah,
good.
did I
I'm good
black
now.
out? Yeah, it hit my entire body.
And it wasn't a negative feeling when we went up there. All the times we went up there, it's more of like a heavy feeling.
Yeah, like a heavy, like dark is a good word. Like it's not negative, but it's like a heavy, like darker energy than
Yeah.
downstairs.
So Jamie had told us a little bit about the man who had passed away upstairs, and he was very flamboyant and had a lot of people come and go, and almost like I don't want to say promiscuous, but like, you know, he
Yeah.
had
For a good time.
yeah, he was down for a good time.
Yeah.
So like, you know, who knows how many people were in and out of that place, right? But like the crazy thing is that some of his furniture is actually still up there as well. So the chair, there's a red chair up there that was his. I think one of the couches was his, and the room that he passed away in is actually where Jamie sleeps. Like that's his room.
Yeah.
So like it's crazy though, because like even it's a weird layout, right? And like you walk up this big flight of stairs and you know you hit that wall, and then there's like you turn the corner and there's this long hallway.
Mhm.
And only thing like this long hallway, and then there's a kitchen, a bedroom, a bathroom, a bedroom, and a living room.
Mhm.
So sorry, cat. There's nothing on your left hand side,
Yeah.
like no doors or you know anything like that. And
Your cat's probably like, who are you talking to? Nobody's even over here.
yeah. But yeah, so like it's weird, like when you walk into the kitchen, like the kitchen gives you a different vibe, and then like you go a little bit further down the hallway and it gives you a different vibe, and you go a little bit further and then you hit that bedroom and it's like, whoa, that gives you a different vibe.
Yeah.
And then you go into the living room and the living room is a different vibe. It's all like more than one of us, like when we were there for the investigation, we talked about this hallway and how the hallway felt different every time we walked on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like we would walk down the hallway to the living room and then walk back out to go to the kitchen, and it felt like it took so much longer.
Yeah.
Like it was weird. It's just weird. And
Do you
then
think
like
maybe it was draining your energy, so it felt longer?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like more
Like,
than
I'm
once
tired.
that
What
we-
just happened?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Even the energy from our cameras, like
Yeah.
the batteries don't last long there.
Mhm.
No. Our
Hallways,
batteries and our
long hallways are creepy anyway.
they
Yeah.
are.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They are. And again, Jamie is a very like eclectic person, right? Like he has his apartment set up, you know, his living room is painted black and he has mirrors and, you know, all sorts of stuff like that, right? So that also adds to it. And the hallway that you walk down is checkerboard.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
like that in itself is, you know,
It's like some Wonderland creepy.
yeah, right? Like what's happening? And like they have I think it's still there, but they have an African gray parrot,
Mm-hmm.
and the parrot talks. And we were there, and it was when we had brought in our like some of our people back with us, and we had all of our equipment, and we were in the living room, and we were, Lilu, you're gonna knock over the camera. We were asking, I think we were using dowsing rods at this point. And we were asking questions, and the dowsing rods weren't working properly. Like, it was almost as if like they didn't want to communicate through those. And I've had great success with dowsing rods. Like, I really like dowsing rods. I think that, I don't know, I find them that they work very well.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, like, it wasn't communicating through the dowsing rods. And so we're sitting there, and then, all of a sudden our music box went off down the hallway, and there was no one down the hallway. Like, we were all in the living room doing, the dowsing rods. And so we're like, okay, like, how did that happen, right? And we had set up a REM pod in the kitchen, and they had told us that the REM pods go off in the kitchen all the time. Like, anytime someone is there and they put a REM pod in the kitchen, it goes off.
Yeah.
So, we're all sitting in the living room, and the REM pod goes off in the kitchen, and we're like, we need to go out to the kitchen. Like, we need to go and investigate the kitchen, because it was more than one person had told us that this happens. The music box was down that way. The REM pod was down that way. And we were all kind of getting up to leave the living room. And we thought at the time that their parrot had said something.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what we thought it was. Well,
I remember.
I think it was like Charlie or something. I'd have to look back at the video, because one of our girls was using a digital recorder, and she caught it.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we thought it was the bird, and we were like, oh, that's weird. Like, we've never really heard the bird talk before, and that's not its name. Like, its name is Q. That's the bird's name. So we were like, okay, whatever. And then, like, after we left, I was like, we need to see if we caught that on camera, because like, I don't think that was the bird. And our one girlfriend, she had it, and I sent it to Jamie, and I was like, yo, is this your bird? He's like, no. He's like, I've never in my life heard my bird say that ever.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't explain that. And it was weird, because like, we were getting up to leave, and then it said something like, I'd have to like listen to the video again to see exactly what it was. But all of us were like, whoa, what was that? Like, and it was like, we heard it clear as day.
Yeah.
So like, that was really cool.
I just get the vibe that like, if I were to guess, like, you know how it felt heavy up there? It could be that person that passed recently wasn't ready to like leave that space, or maybe confused in that space. Like, that's why it was heavy and not evil, but kind of dark. Like, because that's not a good emotion to be stuck in.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Maybe.
And that's what it almost felt like, except for, I know that there was more than one spirit up there. Like, the way that it feels when I'm up there is like,
different people in different rooms.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then, like, we all went into the kitchen. We were all in the kitchen, and we were doing a spirit box session, and the EMF was going off. The REM pod was going off. The spirit box was spitting out hundreds of names. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And we had like, our automatic writer was with us, and our other girl, who's also a sensitive, was with us as well. And both of them were like, there's so much going on in this room. Like, we couldn't pinpoint anything.
Yeah.
Like, it was overwhelming.
And it's the same with the downstairs. It just feels different, like upstairs was like really overwhelming, because it's like so heavy and draining. And downstairs, it's just like so many hyper spirits are trying to like chime in and use different equipment. And it's just like, it's so crazy the contrast of energies at that place, like upstairs, downstairs,
Yeah, in the same building.
in the same building. It's like
And every time it's the same. Like
it's the same every time we go.
like we've been there 3 times now, and every time it's the same. Like when we're in the candy store part, it's like playful and energetic and woo like let's do this.
Yeah.
And then like you go outside and you go up those stairs and you hit that wall, and every single person that was with us felt it. As soon as we went up those stairs, they were like, this is different. And we were like, yeah, we told you. Like,
Right.
We've been here. We told you this is a different vibe up here.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. It's an interesting place for sure.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to go back there too.
Yeah, me too.
Is there any part of you that was leaning more towards a skeptic whenever you guys started doing this, and now it's like, I don't know what to do with these confirmations?
So
100%.
for me, yeah, it's like I still try to keep a little bit of skepticism because I don't want to get into the habit of saying, every little knock and bump that you hear, even every little voice that you hear, is paranormal.
Right.
So I always want to try and keep a little bit of skepticism, just for the investigation part. Like we're always trying to figure out, okay, what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely, after what we've seen, especially the last couple of years, what we've been a part of.
Yeah.
It's hard to even stay remotely skeptic at all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like especially after the Arlington, like me and Darren both said, like it didn't really like change anything because we all believe in a part of it if we're all out here chasing something,
Yeah.
But like it was just like almost like validation. Like, it's pretty
clear that
it's pretty clear that something else is happening, when stuff like the Arlington happens.
Yeah.
It's hard to case, but even in the moment, like I said, I was convinced Darren was going to come upstairs and say like, no, like
we're doing
a spirit box session down there and you can hear us through the vent.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to like remain a little bit skeptical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like when other people experience it with you, because then when you start to doubt, you can be like, this happened, right?
Yeah.
Like this? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted Darren to come on, because it was like explaining this to people, like when we come home, like, because people obviously knew where we were going.
Yeah.
So like all the people in our life are like, so what happened? And it's like, well, buddy, do I have a story for you? Like I said to you, man, like I've got a story for you, It's like.
But then when you explain it to people, you sound crazy.
You sound absolutely crazy. Like I was explaining to somebody at my work the other day, and in my head as I'm talking, I'm just like, you sound like an absolute goofball right now.
Yeah.
And especially if they're not used to it or they aren't like believers, I guess, you just, the look on their face is just like, yeah, right. And that's why I wanted Darren to come on, because it's like another person who's like, pretty good at doing what he does.
Yeah.
And it just validated it. And I had no way. I was like, you need to come on and help me explain this, because
I just always feel like when it mimics, I feel like it's antagonistic, like it's sinister.
It was very like
is this what y'all are trying to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it's crazy because like the 4th floor is where it happened, and like the 4th floor is where it came through saying it was the devil, and then Lucifer came through on our spirit box.
Yeah, which we know we can pretty much, put it to bed that it wasn't Lucifer or the devil.
Right.
But it's just the fact that it's,
it's trying to get a rise out of you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And like through the whole night at the Arlington, like I said before, when it's like big groups like that, like this wasn't a huge group, but when it's bigger groups like that and it's like a public event, it's always like a little bit hectic, So like before everything happened on the 4th floor, I just happened to go up there to go to my room, and no one else was up there. And I started getting activity like crazy when I was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everybody came up, and it kind of like
dwindled
down when everybody was in this one hallway, and then 80% of the group left, and it started back up again.
Yeah.
It was almost like messing with you, like, okay, well, I'm not really going to do this when everybody's looking.
Right.
And then, oh, you're by yourself in the basement? Let me just, do this and peekaboo and all that stuff.
Let me just peek around the corner and follow you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very like, the vibe was very like, I'm going to mess with you because I can.
Yeah.
And like the Arlington too is like, there's not many, from what the lady at the front desk had told me, that there was only probably about 5 or 6 investigators that have ever been to the Arlington to investigate.
Oh,
So,
wow.
like, yeah, it's very like just sort of coming out of its shell, you know?
Yeah.
And
I think we cracked that shell wide open.
yeah, I
But I'm
think
glad they were so welcoming and like had stories for you guys. That's really cool.
yeah,
Mackenzie especially was like really excited that we were there.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was super stoked. She came in and joined in with us for a little bit, during her time off.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was great. Like the staff was really good. And yeah, everybody there that we said any sort of paranormal event happened to, they were all like, oh, what happened? Tell us
Yeah.
this, tell us that, like, so that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a unique building for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Same with the candy store. The candy store is a whole, it's its own cool vibe too. And the owner there is fantastic, right?
But it's crazy because like, a lot of the places we walked into, it's like, yeah, okay, this is a haunted place. But you don't really, walk into them and it's like, this is a unique energy.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the buildings honestly just feel like a building.
Yeah.
And then stuff happens in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these places, you can feel the different unique energy that's in the
like
whole
I've
building.
heard at like Waverly, like there's been somebody like that was on the top floor and then all of a sudden they got a vibe to like jump off and their friends would have to like stop them from doing that and go downstairs and like chill out.
Yeah.
But like when I was there, that's the kind of vibe I was expecting. And like since I was with a big group, I didn't get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I wanted to do that. I was just expecting
No.
more powerful vibes.
Right. And I think like, again, like I know we've touched on this so many times, but I think when you are investigating, if you do have large groups, I feel like you don't get the same activity that you would get in a smaller scenario.
No.
And
Yeah.
like I've seen that, witnessed it firsthand, right? Like we've been in large groups and had, minimal activity, but then in the exact same location, with 2 people, it's completely different and crazy,
Yeah.
So I think that's it takes into account that maybe the spirits, some of them are shy and they don't want everybody to watch and see what they're doing and everything. I think it's a little bit more personal when it's less people.
Right.
And it's like when there's more people, like everybody has their own energy, right?
Yeah.
And that energy changes. Like if you're in a bad mood, you put off a different vibe. If you're sad, you put off a different vibe.
Yeah.
Having all these people, like it's like when you go and I think it was Terry who said it like this, where it's like when you go to a concert in a giant stadium and everybody is just so fucking happy to be at that concert.
Yeah.
That's what you feel when you walk into the stadium, you feel all that like happy energy,
Yeah.
And it's like with the bigger investigations, there's so much energy going on that maybe it's like spirits are just like, nope, not my kind of energy,
Yeah.
But then you tell eight out of 10 people to leave the room.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, now it's a little bit more my setting, which is
All right. Thanks for being a part of this episode. I definitely enjoy anytime I get to interview people about their experiences and hear it from them in their own words, what they experienced. It's always a highlight of doing this podcast. All right. If you're listening at home, thank you again for listening and being a part of the audience. If you would like to connect with us or possibly send in a story or want your own chance to do a paranormal interview with me, Be sure to join the Facebook group at Paranormal Stories Spooky Shiz. That's Paranormal Stories, and then Spooky Shiz is in parentheses. All right. With that being said, thanks for being here, and stay spooky, my friends.